What is going on, everybody? Man, Micah's back with another video. Back here with an iPadOS 17 beta review thus far for the iPad Pro. And one of the things I really wanted to highlight was just how solid of an experience it really has been. I haven't really noticed any hiccups or problems except for doing lock screen changes. Of course, if you guys don't know, you get pretty much all of the features from iOS 17 on the iPad, but then there are a few additional updates for iPadOS specifically that pertain to the iPad, and that's PDF Viewer, being able to edit those, especially with an Apple Pencil. You also get a freeform update, Apple Pencil updates. You also get an external camera used for FaceTime, but as of right now, it's just with like a specific webcam, I believe, not actual like a third-party camera like a Sony or something like that. Hopefully that does come down the pipeline. And then of course, lock screen. The lock screen gets the same updates that the iPhone does, so you can get more creative with your lock screen experience. You get the Health app now on iPadOS 17, but specifically Stage Manager. Stage Manager is the biggest thing that shines from iPadOS 17, and it's because they really sat down, and although they introduced it, I believe, last year with iPadOS 16, they take more advantage of it with your window freeforming, your window customization, if you will, the amount of windows you can have open, how it looks, how it maneuvers with promotion and all that type of stuff. Stage Manager is the biggest thing that you get from iPadOS 17 that the iPad needed. That's what something that starts separating it from the pack and starts adding that true level of productivity to your iPad, and you really feel like you have a nice little, laptop in your hand, and this Magic Keyboard is the perfect companion for it. What I like the most is I haven't had any interference with getting work done on here. Now, maybe I haven't noticed it with the likes of like a DaVinci Resolve, since that's my primary editor as of right now. Haven't downloaded LumaFusion yet, will in the future, but I don't know if that's from DaVinci's side, still getting used to being in an iPad form or in a mobile form, or is that iPadOS 17. I have not noticed any real issues. And that's what you want to see. You don't really want to have the experience issue with the beta, but because there's so much or so little, and maybe the processor itself is to thank in terms of not having issues with the beta software, because the M2 chip has been living up to its name. And I like the fact that iPadOS 17 beta has been a charm. It really has. I haven't had any issues with it. I do wish they did have some form of alert slide on the iPad, to tell you the truth, or maybe an action button. That would be nice. One of the things you don't get to experience is a kind of a side note. I don't think this has anything to do with iPadOS 17 specifically, but the iPad Pro can shoot ProRes RAW through the camera, but it seems like it's only through Final Cut as of right now. Now, if they add the ability for it to do that in general or with other editing apps, that would be nice. But as of right now, you can't. And I hope that they add that later. Sorry for the text messages coming in. The biggest thing I want to talk about in terms of the update outside of Stage Manager is the fact that battery life also has not suffered. Battery life has been tremendous, and it makes me wonder that if I have noticed and taken any hits in battery life, will that go away once the stable release of iPadOS 17 drops as well? And will I have even more fantastic battery life on here? That's something that's going to be interesting to know as well. And it's exciting. Of course, for me, this is like a brand new product I've never used. And any product in the iOS field going forward is pretty much going to be something I've never used. I don't want to associate the Apple Watch per se in that, but dealing with Android smartwatches and then dealing with an Apple Watch are probably two vastly different things as well. So that will be the next kind of new product. The AirPods Pro, to me, were essentially similar to Galaxy Buds, so that I didn't necessarily consider that a new experience. But I think the iPad, in comparison to an Android tablet, brand new experience. An Apple Watch, brand new experience. Laptop, desktop would be a brand new experience. And then trying the betas out for Mac OS and whatnot, that's going to be interesting down the road. But in terms of the tablet experience, iPadOS 17 has been a true joy, and certain updates in certain apps like the Reminders app really also shows the intuitiveness Apple is adding to their apps, which make their apps just as robust as any productivity app from a third party that you find in the App Store. And that's also something that I definitely appreciate about Apple's apps, is that they're very, very powerful if you actually take the time to learn and use them. And that's one of the things I did with reminders and with notes, trying to figure out how to use quick notes. And once you start finding use cases for their apps and the fact that they have that kind of capability, you really start to appreciate the effort Apple has put into their ecosystem, where you don't have to use third-party apps. Final Cut Pro is something I would like to use from Apple because it is way more touch based, right? Because of the mobile experience being so touch interface based. Final Cut Pro really utilizes that. Is that another learning curve that I want to learn, or do I want to stick to trying to learn DaVinci right now? That's a topic for another discussion. But I like the fact that Apple brought Final Cut Pro to the iPad finally, being pressured probably from the likes of Adobe Photoshop and DaVinci Resolve, and who knows, later down the road, Adobe Premiere, right? I'm sure they're gonna come to the iPad. They got to at this point, right? But being challenged to really bring that raw power to their apps. If you take the time to learn them, they update them with every iOS and iPadOS update with little intricate features that you didn't realize you needed until you try. You're like, oh my goodness, I didn't think I needed this feature. And one of those is with the Reminders app, as I mentioned before, again, digressing, and using the columns view when building out lists. And this columns view really works with like grocery lists specifically, because you can even create a list type, which is either from a template that you could have built or a literal grocery list. So whenever you type groceries in or items, it will separate it in different columns or different subjects, so that way you know where to find that kind of stuff. Freezer aisle and your greens and your fruits and all that type of stuff. It's very smart in doing that. My wife showed her how to do it. She loves it. I'm waiting for her to share me on it so I can add some stuff to the list. But I use it to create my video list and my video games list, things that I want to partake in or shoot and record and edit for you guys. That way I know what I need to get done for my YouTube channel and my own personal time. That stuff is coming with iOS and iPadOS 17, and you really get to see how they raise and elevate their apps with such features. The Journal app will be coming to the iPad as well. Maybe I'll try to give it use. You know, sometimes you just sit down and try to use certain things like that. You kind of learn how to use, your time a little bit more wisely, or really reflect and meditate on certain activities you've done, your mood, how you're feeling, or if you want to use it as a journaling app, right? That kind of stuff, it makes you want to kind of try and learn to use it. I don't have an Apple Pencil yet, so using the Freeform and all these other apps you can draw in and all that, I can't do that quite yet. That'll be another experience for another time. But the fact that they're adding and improving those experiences with iPadOS 17 is something that you want to see from Apple, and it's with all the apps, really, right? Being able to increasingly get better with annotating and doodling, right? And understanding the pressure points. And with the M2 iPad Pro, it understands the hover capability, right? That's something coming here as well. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. We need to see that more. We need to see more like tablet-based experiences improve and or get added to the iPad to start separating it that much more from iOS 17 and future updates. So those are my thoughts on iPadOS 17. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about it. What are some of your favorite features? Are you using iPadOS 17? Are you looking forward to it? What are some of the features you hope that Apple adds to iPadOS? Comment section is open for discussion. But again, as always, you guys haven't already, make sure to like the like button, subscribe to the channel, that notification bell, so into my videos. So it's your best like, see what's cracking. It's me, Micah, sign out to the next video. This mouse keyboard is heavy with this tablet. Wait for it.